One thing that never ceases to amaze me is the dishonesty and the false premises by which many atheists stand upon, and the unwillingness to look at historical context. It's just simply not honest. And the word dishonest, in my experience on YouTube, has been the most used word by atheists. They are quick to call anything and everything dishonest. Yet the mythologies and the dishonesties in the atheist community are rampant and very abundant. And with one of the most biggest, that's great English, one of the biggest mythologies we see among atheism is with the term separation of church and state. Now, this statement is all too many times the rallying cry, the clarion call, or whatever, the call to arms against Christians and against others, to basically say that Christians should have nothing to do with government and that morals should stay out of government, etc., etc. Well, the fact is, morals have everything to do with their place in legislation, because you're going to legislate someone's morals. The question is not whether or not we're legislating morals because of that fact. It's whose morals are you going to legislate and why. So there's a lot of false premises, a lot of bad arguments, a lot of misinformation, a lot of mythology in many atheists' reading of history. And I know this for a fact because if the atheists on YouTube are any kind of indication of what the common atheist believes, and good Lord, I hope it isn't, there's a lot of misinformation. And one of the biggest sources of misinformation is this statement. Now, I would encourage all my atheist friends who to read the Founding Fathers. As I told someone recently, and continue to tell many people, I wish they would actually read what the Founding Fathers said from the source documents and quit repeating quotes that are taken out of context. Pretty much all the Founding Fathers, even the most liberal ones, would today be considered right-wing fanatics. If you don't believe it, again, read their source documents. Even Thomas Paine and others who the atheists cling to would reject the modern atheists. And I've got some videos I'm going to do upcoming to prove that. Because, see, I've been reading Thomas Paine for myself instead of listening to quotes on t-shirts in atheist bookstores. Anyway, let me read from Thomas Jefferson's letter here. I'm about halfway through this. To Nehemiah Dodge and others, a committee of the Danbury Baptist Association in the state of Connecticut, Washington, January 1st, 1802, quote, believing with you that religion is a matter which lies solely between man and his God, that he owes no account to none other for his faith or for his worship, that the legislative powers of government reach actions only, and not opinions, I contemplate with sovereign reverence. I wonder how many atheists say that. That, quote, that act of the whole American people which declared that their legislature should, quote, quoting the First Amendment here, make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, unquote, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. Now, this is a little thing that we like to call consistency and context. You have to be consistent with this context. He made the separation of church and state statement in context that is the meaning of, quote, making no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So, he is telling you how words have meaning. And in no uncertain terms, this is absolutely non-negotiable if words have meaning in their proper contexts in the time that it was written, that the separation of church and state simply means that the Congress, the government, is not to interfere in the religions of the people. They are not to interfere with the free exercise of worshiping whatever God you want, however you want to do it. It did not mean the opposite, the very reprobate meaning that pretty much all the atheists I talk to assign to it today. That somehow this means that religious people have no place in government and morals shouldn't be. No. You have not read Thomas Jefferson if you say anything like that. And I will prove that to you in later videos. But for now, please forgive me if I'm a little blunt about this because I don't have time to play with you, and I don't have time to coddle people's feelings. But the truth is, if you've been repeating this out of this context, you're a liar, you're wrong, and you're a coward for not being willing to research the context in which it's said. The context of separation of church and state is within this statement. I'm going to say it again. Quote, that the legislature, quote, make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. This is talking about the government staying out of religion, not religious people out of the government. I don't see how anybody willing to allow words in their own context to have retain their meanings could come to any other conclusion, any other honest conclusion. And he ends the letter, and I'm sure a lot of atheists would say this: I reciprocate, quote, your kind prayers for the protection and blessing of the who? The common Father and Creator of man, and tender you for yourselves and your religious association assurances of my high respect and esteem, unquote. But Thomas Jefferson prayed to the Father and Creator of man? Oh, Lord have mercy. As I'm going to show in an upcoming video on Thomas Paine, the atheists of today who cling to the deists of this day are grasping grandly at straws. When you see what these men actually wrote, and you see how they lived their lives and what they believed, it is a far, 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 far cry from the modern atheist. And the irony of the modern atheist to cling to these guys to attack Christians is the irony of all ironies if you would just read it for yourself.